Hello, welcome to From the South. I'm Laura Prada from our Telesur studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with our news. You stay with us. We begin with our news. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel received His Eminence Cardinal Timothy Dolan, Archbishop of New York, on this Tuesday evening. This is the first visit of His Eminence to the island, where he has been received with hospitality and respect. During his visit, he has met with members of the Catholic Bishop Conference as he visited other places of interest of associated and not associated to the activities of the Catholic Church. Among them, Minor Basilica of Virgen de la Caridad del Cobre, the Mother of Cuba in Santiago de Cuba, and the Metropolitan Cathedral of Havana, where he offered masses, and he also shared a message of reconciliation between Cuba and the United States.
What's interesting to me is that while there may be tension with the two governments, the people seem to love one another. So the people in the United States have a tremendous admiration for the people of Cuba. And I sense in my short time here that the people of Cuba love the people of the United States.
And we change topic. Colombian teachers announced they will go on a strike later this month in rejection of recent violence and death threats. The Colombian Federation of Education Workers announced a 48-hour strike starting on this February 20th. The strike was announced by the teachers' union on Monday, less than a week after one of the regional coordinators survived an assassination attempt in central Colombia. Meanwhile, a teacher was assassinated in the northeast, and dozens in multiple towns were sent death threats. The teachers will be organizing marches for life and peace in rejection of the recent wave of violence.
From now, a national strike of 48 hours will be held the 20th and 21st of February for life, peace, democracy, and for real conditions to be generated. For the state to generate these conditions, so our colleagues can undertake their activities in the most remote areas. We will go on strike for trade union freedom, for the protection of our social leaders, so the assassinations of our colleagues finally stop. But at the same time, we will demand President Iván Duque grant an audience with the FECODE Executive Committee.
And we change topic again. The right wing in Bolivia is doing all it can to prevent the country's biggest party movement towards socialism from returning to power in these upcoming May elections. It is trying to get the electoral authorities to rule Evo Morales and other leading candidates as ineligible. Let's find out more on the following story.
Bolivia's right is not satisfied with forcing the mass government to resign through the coup on November the 10th last year. It wants to wipe these leaders off the political map. And the most symbolic case is former President Evo Morales' candidacy for the Senate.
Those who have gone or tried to go to seek asylum and support in other countries are automatically excluded.
To stand for a seat in the Senate is outrageous. I am not going to prejudge what the Electoral Court will decide. We hope it will rule him ineligible. If it doesn't, we have time and we'll see what other legal mechanisms we can use.
The main mechanism now for politically annihilating the mass leaders is to get them ruled ineligible for the elections on May the 3rd, using the argument that they do not meet the 3- or 5-year residency requirements stipulated in the law.
By Wednesday, we will complete the documentation demanded. However, it seems strange to us that they have also demanded this of our candidate, Luis Arce, because we have checked and all the required documents were presented.
The Supreme Electoral Court has not yet approved the nomination of Evo Morales and 700 other candidates, and it's given them until midweek to deliver the documents it says are missing.
The Supreme Electoral Court will begin to analyze on Thursday the additional documentation delivered by the candidates not yet approved. This work will be completed on Monday when we will inform their parties.
However, it has been made clear that if these candidates meet the requirements and are approved, the door will remain open until a few days before the May the 3rd elections for others to challenge their nominations.
Candidates who are approved by the Electoral Court can still be challenged if some other party or political organization thinks there is reason to do so.
This is one way for the right, which is standing 7 candidates in these presidential elections, to remove the movement for socialism from the political scene. But through the de facto government, it is also pursuing legal cases against several of the candidates of the MAS, the party led by the former president Evo Morales.
And we change topic. We move on to Brazil. A strike at Brazil's state-owned company Petrobras is now into its 11th day. About 20,000 Petrobras workers at 95 sites are taking part in the nationwide stoppage triggered by the dismissal of 1,000 workers at a fertilizer plant in the south of Brazil. The Oil Workers Union says the dismissal are part of a wider plan to privatize the country's biggest company. They want the dismissed workers reinstated and the company to comply with their collective labor agreement. And our correspondent Nacho Lemus in Sao Paulo has the details about the strike. Welcome, Nacho.
Greetings. Brazilian oil workers has been staging a strike for 11 days now. About 20,000 Petrobras workers at 95 sites across 3 states are taking part in the nationwide stoppage. Although the company announced that it would start rehiring those who were dismissed at a fertilizer plant in the south of Brazil, a measure that originally triggered the nationwide strike, but workers rejected the move, saying it would no longer satisfy their demands. The Oil Workers Union says the dismissal are part of a wider plan to privatize the country's biggest company. Workers say the company's privatization will lead to an increase of the prices of several products, like the gas cylinders people use at their homes to cook or heat water. Petrobras has already come under fire at the start of Operation Car Wash, when investigations showed that the company's higher management is involved in corruption cases. Estudios.
Was Nacho Lemus from Sao Paulo. Like this, we go for a first break. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Telesur English and on my account at Laura P. Telesur. You stay with us. We are back with our news. Spain's Maritime Rescue Service found 69 African migrants of the 119 who disappeared at sea on Monday. The Spanish Rescue Service reported that the group of migrants had disappeared a month after setting sail from African coast on a raft in an attempt to reach Europe. The vessel was found in the Strait of Gibraltar, dividing Europe and Africa.
We left on Monday. We have been for some time at sea. From Monday night until today, we've been at sea for some time, and it really hasn't been easy. We have had many difficulties, and we haven't eaten anything.
And thousands of residents have fled the town of Mangina in the Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo after a rise in militia attacks for the past 3 days. The Ebola-hit town in some 72,000 people was left early empty as families migrated to nearby Beni. Residents say they fear the return of the Allied Democratic Forces, which carried out the deadly strike attacks by the ADF since last October have also hindered efforts to contain the Ebola virus.
The security situation is volatile. The killings in Mangina started the day before yesterday. ADF rebels raided Makusa, Ituri, the northern part of Mangina.
We are worried about the situation all of the time, and it seems to have no end. The government needs to come to our aid and help the other victims too in the face of these massacres, which have lasted for years. We've had enough.
And on Tuesday, the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa and the South African Cabin Crew Association said South African Airways business rescue practitioners would be breaking the law if they went ahead with the retrenchment of workers. South African Airways is struggling with debt payments, due to which many flights have been cancelled or expected to be cancelled at the end of this month. The airline has cancelled several flights since mid-January. Then, at the beginning of February, it announced that retrenchments were avoidable.
The difficulty is that when you've got an ailing airline with challenges in terms of meeting some of the short-term targets, with huge pressure in terms of debt repayments, tough decisions have to be made. The consequences of that is obviously that SAA will not need all of the staff that they currently have, because they have less routes and obviously less need for different staff in this environment.
We expected a radical restructuring, and stopping loss-making routes is one of the things that was an option on the table. We're not that necessarily fussed about the announcement of the routes that are being stopped. What we are quite angry about, however, is announcing retrenchments without actually announcing your business rescue plan, which means we're basically retrenching as a knee-jerk reaction to cash flow, and that's not the way you're going to save this airline. You're not going to retrench yourself into profit.
And Cameroonian youth marched in the streets of Yaoundé to mark the 54th National Youth Day as part of the African Union's Silencing Gun campaign. Hundreds rallied carrying banners denouncing the bloody conflict in Cameroon's Anglophone region, where thousands have died due to ethnic violence. The Silencing the Gun campaign was adopted during this year's African Union Summit being held in Ethiopia. It seeks to make peace building a major priority for African states.
Silencing the guns basically means the reset of mindset in order for us to migrate from a continent that is full of conflict, so a conflict-free continent, and it begins with three things. One is ensuring that there's justice. Two is ensuring that there is peace, and then three, ensuring that there is equality. So it's only through justice, peace, and equality we can be able to silence the guns, because these are the root causes of all conflicts in Africa.
And Sudan's government has agreed to hand over former President Omar al-Bashir to the International Criminal Court. He faces charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity over the conflict that broke out in the country's Darfur region in 2003, following a rebellion by non-Arab rebels. Government forces and mainly Arab militia mobilized to suppress the revolt were accused of widespread atrocities, including rape and mass killings. According to the United Nations, the conflict killed more than 300,000 people. And for the first time, Mali's president has made contact with Islamist extremists, a move the government has long rejected. The announcement comes as troops were dispatched to Kidal, a town that symbolizes the administration's lack of control over the country's north. The conflict has not only spread to central Mali, but to neighboring Burkina Faso and Niger. Mali has struggled to contain a violent revolt that broke out in 2012, killing thousands of military and civilians.
It is my duty and my mission to create all possible spaces and to do everything possible so that by one means or the other we can achieve some sort of peace, because the number of deaths in the Sahel today is becoming exponential, and I believe that it is time that certain avenues were explored.
Time for another break. Hearing from the south, you stay tuned with us. When we are back, we talk about the development of coronavirus and the homage paid in Iraq to the commander killed during the U.S. attack in Baghdad's airport. You stay tuned with us.
We share your feelings, exalt your accomplishments, and show your reality. Our approach is global and keeps us in tune with the peoples. Caribbean countries also get our signal. With enthusiasm, we will continue to broadcast for them, because we are Telesur, the news broadcaster from South America and the Caribbean.
We are back with our news. At least 15 women and children drowned and more than 50 others were missing after a boat overloaded with Rohingya refugees sank off southern Bangladesh as it tried to reach Malaysia on Tuesday. Some 138 people, mainly women and children, were packed on a trawler barely 13 meters long trying to cross the Bay of Bengal. The boat's keel hit an undersea coral in shallow water of St. Martin Island, Bangladesh's southernmost territory. Before it sank, 71 people have been rescued, including 46 women. Fishermen tipped off the Coast Guard after they saw survivors swimming and crying for help in the sea.
The smugglers made us get on the boat and then they fled from shore. We didn't even know we were heading towards such a dangerous journey.
And Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas told UN Security Council on Tuesday that the world should reject President Donald Trump's Middle East peace plan, calling it an outside imposition that cannot bring lasting peace. Abbas also said the deal makes Swiss cheese out of Palestine's territory and would severely limit Palestinian sovereignty.
I have come to you on behalf of the 13 million Palestinians to call for a just peace. That is all. I have come to you today, ladies and gentlemen, to reaffirm the Palestinian position that rejects the Israeli-US proposal. This plan will not bring peace or stability to the region, and therefore we will not accept it. We will confront its application on the ground. This is the summary of the project that was presented to us. This is the state that they will give us. It's like a Swiss cheese, really.
Ahead of President Abbas' address at the UN, thousands of Palestinian citizens protested in Ramallah rejecting Trump's plan. They also demanded an end to the Israeli occupation of their lands and respect for Palestinian sovereignty.
We came here to support our political leadership, and we say to this unjust world that Palestine, from its river to its sea, is ours. And we tell Trump, his son-in-law, and Netanyahu that we will stay, no matter how long or short.
In Iraq, officials this Tuesday commemorated Abu Mahdi al-Muhadin's, the senior commander killed in January on a U.S. drone attack in Baghdad that assassinated also Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Muhandis was the deputy head of the Hashed al-Sabi. He and Soleimani and 8 others were killed in the January 3rd U.S. strike outside Baghdad's international airport in a clear violation of Iraq's sovereignty. To mark 40 days since their death, a tradition in the Middle East, top official held a memorial service in Baghdad's high-security zone known as Green Zone. And we move on from topic. Protesters have gathered outside the parliament in Lebanon in an attempt to block a vote of confidence in the new government. The demonstrators scuffled with police who responded with tear gas and water cannons. Some lawmakers slept inside the parliament building as the protesters were out from early morning to try to prevent the session from taking place. They say they have no confidence in any of the political elite.
We are here because we are trying to get rid of the leaders of corruption, the leaders of war, the leaders of destruction, the leaders who ruined the country, who stole the country, who looted the country's wealth and left the people poor and humiliated.
And we update now about the coronavirus. The death toll from the novel coronavirus, now officially named as COVID-19, has risen to 1,115 in mainland China. Despite public fears that the coronavirus outbreak could scale into a full-blown pandemic, as there are over 44,000 people infected in China, public health experts have called for patience until more details about the virus are known. And the World Health Organization began in Geneva a two-day global research and innovation forum to boost international action against the novel coronavirus outbreak. The forum gathers 400 participants, including leading virologists, representatives of countries with confirmed novel coronavirus cases, and experts from public health agencies. The event aims to come up with a roadmap for the scientific research against the virus that will include finding out its origin, designing clinical treatments, medicines, public health measures, and eventually a vaccine against the deadly disease.
What matters most is stopping the outbreak and saving lives. With your support, that's what we can do together. And it's a test of scientific solidarity. Will the world come together to find shared answers to shared problems? That's why we're here today.
And on Tuesday, a first batch of 34 patients who got infected with the novel coronavirus were discharged from 3 temporary mobile hospitals in the Chinese city of Wuhan. They were discharged after undergoing various tests, including 2 nucleic acid tests, chest radiography, blood tests, and being confirmed that they show no signs of fever. The 3 temporary medical facilities with multiple functions, such as emergency aid, treatment, and clinical examination services, were set up to admit and treat novel coronavirus pneumonia patients with mild symptoms of the virus. The release of the first batch of patients from the hospitals has brought a sense of vigor and confidence to the remaining patients. Like this, we come to the end of this brief. Remember, you can keep yourself informed and updated following this and much more other information on our website, telesturenglish.net, where you can read opinion articles, watch special interviews, and of course, do follow up to the most outstanding information, the coronavirus in China, the oil workers strike in Brazil, and much more other information. The invitation is done. You continue with us with Telesur, always together, connecting our global thousands. Until next time, thank you for watching.